Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Andrew, for your introduction, and I'm really happy and honored to be here and tell you about my work. As you know, living systems, forms of life, are based on one kind of material, protein. A lot of protein is in our body and is used for the reproduction. And the idea I got about 15 years ago was not to use protein to make new forms of life, but another material. I will show you. This is a conduit which is used for electricity in my country. It's, by law, you have to use this in houses, and there's a lot of it in Holland. It's on the street, and children play with it. And that's my first experience with this kind of tube when I was a kid. I blew paper darts in open windows. And so what I was trying to do, what I started 15 years ago, was trying to make forms of life and forget everything what I know about the existing forms of life. And just using the principles which Norman just told about, the reproduction and the selection, that principles I use. And see what happens there. And I promised myself then to take 1 year, to spend my life 1 year on doing this. And I got addicted to this material, and I really still love it very much. I will start the DVD, please, and I'll show you a bit of video, and then you'll get to know better what I do. This is on the beach of Scheveningen. It's called the Silent Beach, and I used to work there sometime.
Ik ben een paar kilometer ten noorden van deze plek geboren. Vlakbij dit strand groeide ik op. Het is een voorrecht om hier te werken en onderzoek te doen naar de wortels van het bestaan. Ik probeer de natuur opnieuw te scheppen, met het idee dat je daarmee de geheimen van het leven zult ontdekken. Je moet dezelfde problemen echt scheppen, als hij er mocht zijn.
Arises from bees which bring pollen from one flower to the other. Theo Jansen wants to make life, not by the use of pollen or seeds, but by making new creatures. These worms live and die on the computer screen. Over the generations, their shape automatically changes. They roll up their tails as a defense against the points of the other animals which accidentally stick into their flanks. This change takes place without intervention. Once the worms crawl onto the screen, they find their own best way to survive. Using the same principle of the best survivor, quadrupeds find the most efficient way to move their feet. The most rapid animals get a better chance to reproduce themselves, just like in evolution. In the computer, it's the numbers which reproduce themselves. In real life, it's biological cells which do the same. So in fact, the numbers are equivalent to the cells. Apart from the numbers in the computer, Jansen recently found another alternative for the biological cell, the electricity tube. With this, you can build structures very quickly. You can build arms and legs, and subject to selection. Reproduction. Selection. Sometimes the selection and reproduction takes a side road via numbers in the computer. Evolution goes faster in the computer. The result is that the artificial beast finds its most efficient way to move its feet. Eventually, these beasts are going to live in herds on the beaches. Jansen is working hard on this evolution. The mechanical beasts will not get their energy from food, but from the wind. The wind will move feathers on their back, which will drive their feet. The beast walks sideways on the wet sand of the beach with its nose pointed into the wind. As soon as it walks into either the rolling surf or the dry sand, it stops and walks in the opposite direction. There have been many experiments. Evolution has generated many species. The knees of the Animaris vulgaris sagged a second after it was put on its feet. You could also say that the beast lived for just a second. Most species died out. For some, just parts are left over. A problem for beach animals is the dry sand. There's a chance that they'll get stuck in it. The Animaris speculata was a little beach animal which remained connected to its mother. It was used as a scout in the dry sand. When walking cost too much energy, the little animal would warn its mother, who was able to pull it out again. Another problem was the wind. When storms came up the beach, the animals used special tools to prevent them blowing away. The Animaris arena rolled out a trunk. At its end, a hammer tried to drive a pin into the ground, so that the beach animal was fixed. The Animaris sabulosa had a more secure way to prevent blowing away. It had a spoiler on the front, which would push down the nose. This is the Animaris currens ventosa. Whilst walking, the animals gather sand in the end of their tails. When they reverse their direction, they stretch their tails and throw the sand down. So in the beginning there are just little heaps of sand, but after a few months or even years, the whole beach landscape may well have changed. According to Jansen, these beasts could maintain the Dutch coastline against the rising sea level in the coming century.
Can we stop the DVD, please? Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I want to show you how the development of the feet of the animal. In every animal there's a sort of backbone which turns around like this. And a couple of tubes, they transform this circular movement in a sort of walking movement over here. And what's drawn here, the specialty of it is that when it's put on the ground, it draws a straight line. When it draws a straight line, the whole animal draws a straight line. So it keeps on the same level, just like a wheel, the axis of a wheel, it stays on the same level as well. And lifting it up, putting it down again. But the shape is very much depending on the length of the tubes in between. If you have another combination of lengths, it can draw a lemon cut or turn the other way. And when I started this, I didn't know which combination of length I needed to make this shape. So I built a model of this in a computer. That was an Atari computer, maybe you still remember that. Well, it was about 14 years ago. And, but still then you have a lot of possibilities. For instance, if you have 10 possible lengths of this tube, and you have also 10 possible lengths of this tube, the combination is already 100. And so there are 11 distances in the system which determine the shape of this movement. And if the Atari would let pass every possibility, it would be on for 100,000 years. So I had to go to another way, still in the computer, to find a solution to the problem. And I used evolution to get somewhere. I made 1,500 feet in the computer with random length. And then the computer looked which ones had more or less this shape of walking. And the 100 best ones, they came out, they had the privilege to multiply. And multiplying means in this case that the tubes are copied and reassembled to 1,500 new combinations. And that process of selection and reproduction went on for months, day and night. And there came 11 numbers out of the computer, and I could build a system with. And in reality, it really worked that way, that the level was straight. And I want to show you that to this model on the side of the stage. Because Andrew, he insisted that I would take a beach animal with me. And this is a part of a beach animal called the Animaris percipiere rectus. Well, people ask me how it come that you make such a nice movement in the feet. And I didn't contribute to that. That was the only thing. The computer did that. And after all, I know how the movement looks like, more or less, animal feet movements. One of the principles, one of the exams the foot in the computer had to date was not only the straightness of the line on the bottom, but there was also another exam they had to do, because feet which spend a lot of time in the air and a lot of short time on the ground, they're not good, because you want to have support as long as possible from the feet. So the feet which spend little time in the air and long time on the ground, they had more chance to multiply. And so that's why the feet, if you look at them, they stay on the ground and go fast forward to support again. And I think real animals do the same. If you imagine, well, Walt Disney really knew this principle as well in the creation of Bambi. And because that young animal walks like he's always supporting itself and putting its foot as long as possible to the ground again. So what we have here is an evolution of 11 distances, which I call the 11 holy numbers. And the 11 holy numbers are responsible for the movement of the feet. But the total thing has 375 lengths of tubes. And what I started a few years ago was making an animal, a herd of animals, which you could replace a tube. You can take a tube out, put a longer or a shorter tube in. And so there were 7 of these animals with another combinations of tubes. You could also say that they have a genetical code in them of 375 genes which are in there. Because when you take twice as long tubes, then you get twice as high an animal, but it won't be very stable. And the other way around, when you make it very little, it's very stiff. It won't walk very easy. So the genetical code makes the way they walk. So I had this herd of 7 animals which had slightly different codes, and there were running matches on the beach, and I could see which one wins and copy that code and put it in the other animals. Well, this is copying genes, is reproducing. So I'm almost there to reproduce. Thank you. And if you would continue that process, just not thinking really, but just doing your work every time when one wins, taking the tubes out and copy them, and to the other animals, to the dead animals, you could say, then automatically there would be, you make mistakes like mutations, and there would be an evolution, a real evolution on the beach. But you have to spend some years on that. I didn't have the time, so I stopped just as a experiment, a mental experiment to show it. But I'm sure that the feet, which are all the same right now, will be different after some time. So especially because they are sensitive for side winds. If you do this, they break easy. And I think the outer part of the animal, the feet, which are against that winds, will be more longer living and better walking. So I think the first thing that would change was the side, the outer feet. So all the feet will become different. Like our feet, we have 4 feet, right? This feet and this feet. And they look different. Just, I think that's the same process. We have our specialty to grab things and the walking specialty. And I think the same specialism would be during the years in that thing. How much time do you have? 4 minutes? Okay. I want to show you just another piece of video. Can we continue the DVD, please? Here you see the propellered ones, and they walked best on the wind, I must say. It's a pity because the wings look a lot better, but the propellers. This is the herd. And they walk just, to make things simple, they walk just with the wind. And the tubes, they catch a lot of wind. They just, if you put it on the wind like it is now, it would walk in a wind force of 3 to 4. And the next shot, you'll see the Animaris ondula, and it has another way of walking. It walks in a wave pattern. You see a wave shape coming from right to left. I think in the next shot, see it starts on the right. Now we go to a different kind of family, and it's totally different. It's just this is the heavy, the sort of rhinoceros kind of animal, and well, this was a little model, but it grew in the years bigger, but still using the 11 holy numbers to walk. Now you see the wooden rhinoceros. This is wood pallets which you use for lifting heavy objects. Was 4.70 meters high. I think it's about, how much is that? Very high. And it weighs 3.2 tons. So it's very heavy, but it could easily move by the wind. So here we see the principle of the wheel, but better because the wheel has to touch every piece of the earth in between. And here it leaps over things, and that's why it goes lighter than the wheel. Okay, we can stop here maybe. Because what I want to have the time to show the new age of the animals is called the Vaporum. So there have been several ages. And the new age is Vaporum. Maybe Norman, you want to hold this and show it to the audience? No, just like that? Okay. Watch that. You see, you can use air to do things. Thank you. there's a little piston on here, and if you connect it with a wing which moves the piston, then you pump something up. And lemonade bottles seem to be very good as a wind stomach. So these are lemonade bottles, and they are filled with wind, and then the animal still has energy to walk when the wind is gone. So when the tide's coming up, they have energy just to fly for the high tide. And so when the air comes out and comes in a pump, then you have a sort of muscle. And the muscle is something which grows bigger or shorter on command. And the command is to be given by nerve cells. This is what I call a nerve cell. And there are pistons in here which can close the tap or open it on command that air is coming in. So I think there's an electronical device called an inverter, which is the same principle. You can also call it a liar, because this is the input and this is the output. The output always says the opposite from the input. If I say there's air coming in here, the mouth says, no, there's no air coming in here. And the other way around as well, if no air comes in here, it says, well, there's air coming in here. So it's just the opposite. And I connected here three liars. Oh, no. Well, these three liars are discussing with each other when air comes in. And since this summer, I made a new liar. This is the new liar. And it's based on the principle that when you do this with a tube, then it closes. And when I do this with this tube, this one closes, and now this one closes. So when air comes in here, you can close the tap. And I have three liars here. I hope this one will succeed. And we connect it to the bottles. Let's see. Oh, here it is. So you see, they are more compact than the old liars, and they, just like in the computer world, everything is getting more little, and it's working more efficient as well. And with these liars, you can make brains. I've already made a brain which is capable of programming, running a program that the animal would walk, turn around, use his hammer, put the sails out. And that has been working for one afternoon. After that, I have to renew it because there was a lot leaking, but it will work in the future. So after the Vaporum, the age will come of the brains, and you have the privilege to look at the brains in the future. You see? Thank you very much. Thank you.